Hello, welcome everyone. We are having another very exciting interview today. It's with my friend and filmmaker Mike Harris. We've worked on the past a little bit on some music videos together. And yeah, before I keep blabbing on by myself, I'm going to switch to the interview so you guys can see him. Here he is. It's Mike.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mike. Thank you so much for joining. I'm very happy that you got time to talk with us.
The pleasure is all mine. I am so stoked to be here.
Nice. I would like to have you maybe introduce yourself a little bit, like talk about who you are and where you came from, and then I want to maybe start with showing your showreel, right? So people just get like a little bit of an idea.
Yes, certainly. I'll give you the as Cliff noted a version as I can. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I went to school in Northern California at the University of California at Berkeley, where my area of concentration in film studies was European art house cinema from 1946 to 66. This was punctuated by a brief tenure studying in Florence, Italy, where I concentrated on semiotics and mysteries and sacred knowledge in architecture. I graduated. I worked for Oprah Winfrey's film and television production and development company for 3.5 years. From there, I transitioned to a career designing and animating performance visuals for concerts and live events. Some of my past clients included Skrillex, RL Grime, Bauer, Boys Noise, a lot of techno artists, some rap, A$AP Rocky, YG. From there, I transitioned to live action, music video direction. Past clients in that capacity included Steve Aoki, Madison Beer, Travis Barker. That's where your dear instructor and I became acquainted. In February of 2020, I was brought on as the creative director for a cartoon DJ live animated through motion capture called Bubbles. I'm also a writer and director of narrative projects. My last short starring Haley Joel Osment called Mechanica recently won Best Writing at the Anchorage International Film Festival. I was a finalist in the Francis Ford Coppola American Zoetrope Screenwriting Contest, and I am wrapping up post-production on my first feature-length documentary project that is about a family's multi-generational encounters with demonic possession, and that one is called Satan, Get Thee Behind Me, and I think that catches us up to today.
Nice, dude. That was it felt like you introduced yourself often like this because you had it all kind of like laid out.
I was going through the speed run, you know.
But you have you written this down or came it all like from
that was straight off the dome.
Straight off the dome, damn dude. Yeah, it sounds like you do this regularly. Very professional. All right, I would say
that's what we aim. That's what we aim for out here is professionalism.
Yes, we're professionals over here.
All right.
So yeah, let me show you to everyone so we get a little bit more context to everything you just told us. All right, so here we go. This is Mike's website. You can also check out Mike's website with the QR code that's on the screen. But yeah, let's look at his showreel. This is well worked on.
Color me your color, baby. Color me your car. Color me your color. darling, I know who you are. Come up off your color chart. I know where you're coming from. Call me on my line. Call me anytime. Call me for a ride. Call me for some overtime. Call me on my line. Call me and a sweet design. Call me for your
Nice. All right.
Amazing.
Amazing. Did you see this, Mike? Did you see how we looked at it?
Is this the? Should I click this watch stream link?
Yeah. Like, because I just realized I could. I think I can share my screen with you that way.
Shucks. Wow. Look at that.
The technology we have today.
It's amazing. It would blow a medieval peasant's mind.
I think I can actually. Oh, this is even better. I can share my OBS with you, so you can see what I'm actually. Okay, this should help you. This should be able to, so you can
Okay.
see basically what I'm seeing. Yeah. Right?
Okay. Yes, I think I see what you see.
Perfect. Awesome. All right.
It's
Cool.
it's amazing to see the world through your eyes.
whole different version of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So that was your show. I gotta say there's a lot of different like you got those 3D animations and a lot of your directing work. So it's quite varied, I would say, but it's always got this like moody undertone for sure.
That's the idea, you know. There's a German director I always admired, Rainer Werner Fassbinder. He talked a lot about working with like a unified aesthetic, and like the idea being like, okay, you make this thing and it's a window, and this thing it's a door, and this thing it's part of a wall, but by the end of your career, your body of work has built a house, and you can hopefully live in that house. But he made 45 feature films in 15 years, and then his heart
Wow.
exploded from a combination of cocaine and sleeping pills. So
That's so many films in such short time. This is all feature films?
Yeah, well, some feature films. He also, did some made-for-television miniseries. He did a phenomenal adaptation of Alfred Dublin's Berlin Alexanderplatz. It's a 15-hour miniseries. And what's impressive about his body of work is that not just how many films he cranked out, because there's a lot of people who could crank out movies and movie after movie, and they would all be trash. But so many of his films are like unequivocally great, and that's what's really impressive.
Awesome. Oh
yeah.
I gotta look more into his filmography. Is he a German? Because his name is German, right?
Yeah, he's German.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. And Alexanderplatz is also like a place right next where I live, so I was like, oh wow, so close.
Oh yeah, no, the miniseries is phenomenal. It is a wonderful project. I mean, it is a commitment though.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be sure to check more of it. Where do I want to go here? Okay, maybe the first thing I want to ask you is for you to talk about your favorite project a little bit. Like I would like to hear what your favorite project or movie or animation was in the past and why.
I mean, that's so tough to say. I mean, I feel like the answer is, look, they're all my children and I love them all equally, but some of them I love more equally than others. The answer is probably like whatever the thing I'm working on currently is what I'm most excited about.
Oh.
But that being said, I look back on a lot of the projects, and they kind of feel like when they're immediately done, I kind of have a hard time watching them just because it's all so fresh. But like when I have like a little bit of space, they kind of act like time capsules. I think back to like what was happening in my life when I made that, and I tend to work a lot with friends, and I so they all have kind of like very uh warm memories in that regard. Some projects do kind of bring back more difficult memories. You just think about frustrations and obstacles that have to be overcome in the pursuit of getting the thing done. I mean, the the film Mechanica that I mentioned earlier was the first time I got to work with my very dear friend Olivia Sandoval, and so getting to work on a project with her uh, was really special. Um, Before we started recording here, you and I were talking about Ingolstadt. I mean, that was
Yeah, a short film we
uh,
made, an animated one. Yeah.
yeah, where it was, every frame was hand drawn. That was such like a kind of like monastic, hermetic, almost meditative process, just like starting every day and just like, okay, I'm going to draw this. Right, I'm going to get this guy walking over and over and over again. Um, that became, um, I don't know, almost spiritual in a way. So that one's very special. Of the music videos, I mean, the one that you and I worked on with Madison Beer. I love how that one turned out, and some of
Mm.
the stuff that we did with Bubbles was really interesting because I came onto the project and it was pitched to me as something that was going to be viewable or exhibited in a live event scenario, where you would go to a concert hall or a music festival or a nightclub, and either projection mapped or pixel mapped or hologrammed into the space would be this 3D cartoon character. The artist would be there performing live in a mocap suit, but uh, the cartoon character would be able to interact, in real time with the audience.
Hmm.
Uh, but the problem was, I came onto the project in February of 2020, and a month later, everything was on lockdown. There were no concerts.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we quickly had to pivot to an all digital platform, and so we had to figure out the challenge became, how do we build this world and develop this voice and tell this story in a world where there is no outside world. Everything is digital. And so we were doing music videos and content on Instagram and YouTube, stills. I was at one point was writing and illustrating a weekly comic strip for this character.
Mm.
um, and just during those early pandemic days when everything was so uncertain, it became this really fertile, imaginative, um, creative outlet, in addition to being a job.
Was this the first time you properly used 3D animation?
Yeah, I think, well, we had used it somewhat when I was designing performance visuals, but like this was the most extensive use of 3D that I had done. And in the build up to this project, I tried to get my hands dirty and did some small 3D animations on my own. I did a couple of like little few minute long short films. The one was called Absolution, and the other one was called Spa. Um, but the artists that we worked with on this, the video that you're watching currently is one of the more polished ones. also a big fan of like old video game graphics, things that are kind of more low polygon count. So we did some animation like that.
Mhm.
We were doing stuff. We were doing stuff in Unreal because it was all, you know, we had the mocap suit and we could build content out like that. But that's a long way of answering answering your question. Yeah, look at that. That looks great.
Looks pretty cool. Yeah, it's very fun with like
Yeah.
all those strange characters.
Oh yeah. So these. Yeah. So you know, in the context of the project, you know, Bubbles was a former mascot for a soap company who decided to become an EDM musician,
Mm.
and these were all other failed mascots that were like his kind
Ah.
of his gang. And the shark character was a character I had tried pitching a TV show about 15 years ago,
Mhm.
but no one bid on that.
Interesting. So you're kind of like bringing your old fantasies and your old ideas into this project where you had like complete creative freedom then.
Yeah, up here we go. I have my collaborator here. See if I can
Oh,
get him on.
oh, such a nice sweater!
Here.
Wow.
I know he gets chilly.
OMG doggo. Damien
That's
loves the
right.
doggo. Oh yeah. By the way, I want to just quickly acknowledge anyone who's in the chat here. We are gonna have like a more interactive time later when I went through my questions, and then you're gonna be able to ask Mike your own questions, and we're gonna interact with it a little bit more with the chat.
Amazing.
Yes. All right. Yeah. So it was interesting for me to hear that you kind of, when you said like your past projects feel like time capsules. So is that also like in a private sense? You mean like in a private way too, like where you think of a project and then you kind of like
Oh
remember how you
yeah.
felt in that time personally?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and two, you know, I mean, I have OCD, so I'm just going to close this door really fast.
All right.
Um, so the all these things that we're talking about, you know, film, animation, any art that involves the recording of motion is also the recording of time. You know,
Mm.
you know, we as human beings only experience time linearly, so we when we watch something, you know, every narrative film is a documentary, even if it's, you know, a movie about Brad Pitt. You're watching Brad Pitt in that exact moment delivering those lines. He's never going to do that again at that stage in his life. You're watching, you know, it's grim to think about it in this context, but you're watching people die in front of you every time you watch a movie. Everyone's inching towards death, and
I see.
so it's you know, everything is getting locked in from
He wants
he
attention.
he yeah, well, he just doesn't like it when I get grim like this.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I
But
was also wondering, like, okay, what do you mean with like dying? Like with old movies, right? With
well,
people who actually died by now, but it's like you mean the process of aging, right? Like everybody
yeah,
is
just
going
every, you
towards
know,
that.
we're all going towards this thing, but also it's like,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I remember so during COVID, I shot a film with a couple of friends called "Your Heart Is a Dark and Rotten Place," and you know, we
Mm.
shot it in the house that I was living in at the time. Stop it! You're gonna go outside if you keep doing that. I apologize. Um, uh, all right, I gotta put this dog out. He's being annoying. Come on, buddy. You're gonna behave like that.
Even if he has a nice sweater, he wants
I
to
know.
be. Maybe just wants to be complimented for the sweater the whole time.
You know what? I'm sure that's what it is. Crumb is a very, very sweet, but also a very vain animal. Um, but you know, yeah. So yeah, going back to like thinking about, you know, uh, this was again, you know, a pandemic project. You know, a cast of two, a crew of one, a single location, and I watched that film, and I'm very proud of it. But it also, you know, I remember being younger, and you know, and that film is also about about time and about getting older. That film was about these two friends who hadn't seen each other in 7 years, and they get together in one night, and just kind of all of the unspoken uh, resentments that have gone unspoken
Hmm.
for so many years kind of bubble up to the surface. But yeah, I mean the it's impossible to watch these things and not, think about like where I was personally in my life when I made them. Thematically, you don't. I mean, it's annoying and not entirely productive to psychoanalyze yourself in your own work, but it's like I feel like this is like thematically linked to a lot of the stuff that I've made, where the past is like this living thing that's always like reaching out and trying to grab you and pull you back.
That's how it feels to you. That's how you perceive it.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's just maybe that's just me and my own neuroses.
What we're talking about, I'm trying to like put on the
Oh yeah,
trailer
yeah,
here so
totally.
people can see.
Yeah.
Let me put on the sound too.
This film won a number of awards it never got proper distribution, but it won a number of awards on the festival circuit. It won Best U.S. Feature and Best Performance for an actress at the Orchid International Queer Film Festival.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And I like the style also, like this soft, glowy style. It's very nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What happened to me?
But it kind of contrasts with the topics in the movie, right? Like it looks so soft and a little bit neon, but like yeah, there's so much, like you said, like unresolved.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the thing with and I wanted it to have this kind of very stylized color palette and lighting schema because like because what you're saying is actually is so accurate. Like it was too harsh otherwise. If it felt more natural, it would just be like, I don't know, it would be almost be unbearable.
I'm kind of wondering, because like watching this trailer, I don't remember it being so glowy. Like the version I saw, was that like before you made it this glowy?
No, yeah. I did another version of it.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. Because like now that I'm thinking back, I don't remember like what you said, like it feeling very harsh, and that's how I felt watching the movie. Like it was like throughout felt very sad and harsh and almost like lonely. And like I would like to rewatch it with this version basically.
Yeah, I'll send you that new version. Yeah.
All right. Cool. That's nice. Yeah, I would like to maybe also in context with the movie you're working on right now, talk a little bit about the current state of the creative industry and the creative scene that you are in.
It's horrible. It's
man.
dreadful. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But by the same token, I'm also a firm believer in everything changes, everything stays exactly the same. But that being said, things are really bad right now. I mean, like, I feel like things come and go in waves. There's like periods of great creativity, and there's also periods of extreme repression and suppression. You think about like the 1950s and the 1980s were really bad cinematic epochs to try to be pushing the envelope creatively, and I feel like we're in one of those right now.
Mm-hmm. How do you notice that? Like, what's happening?
I mean, people less plugged in than you or I probably can see this. You just look at the kinds of films that are being released. Number one, I mean, just like on an institutional level, Hollywood produces fewer films now than they ever have before. And then two, the mandates from studios and streamers basically preclude any original IP. Everything has to either be an adaptation or a remake or a reboot or a sequel.
Is that the only way to truly get a project going, like right now?
Well, no, I mean, look, because of the about 25 years ago. I'm sorry, this is retrodden territory. I'm just for me, I'm trying to like build out narrative context here. Like about 25 years ago, we had this thing called the digital revolution, um, where s- digital camcorders started to become uh, more proliferated among filmmakers. You could make films very cheaply, and now we have it such that everyone has a 24 frames per second 4K camera in their pocket.
Yeah, even more than
It's
that.
it's yeah, well, yeah, I have an older phone, but the it's never been easier to make anything.
Yeah.
But the other side of the Faustian Pact is it's never been harder to get anyone to watch anything, because
Mm.
the attention economy is spread so paper thin. Distribution, I mean, there's some statistic I was reading not long ago that was like 9 out of 10 feature films will not see distribution, uh, that are produced to completion, and
Mm.
you know the way that these studios and streamers are run now. First, you have like a lot of concentration, a lot of monopolization among corporations. And two, going back to something that we were talking about earlier, there's this Silicon Valley effect. Um, you know, the studios used to be run by people who were not good. I mean, the entertainment industry has never been a welcoming or nice place to toil if you're a working class artist. And
Mm.
but the people in charge used to care about movies. And with the influence of tech and streaming and the consolidation of all of this, you have people that care very little about the product. And if you go, it's the same across all industries. I mean, like if you go into any tech CEO's house in the Bay Area, they have no art on the wall. Art is something that matters very little to a lot of these people,
Mm.
and that extends to the film industry.
Yeah.
It's about like the quarter profit system and like hitting your numbers.
Yeah, that's
So
what it's
uh,
mostly
alg-
come down to.
algori- algorithmically, what's going to uh, make the most sense? Well, I guess we're going to do Nosferatu for the third time.
Oh, yeah, right. There was a new one. Yeah, I saw that. Oh,
But that being said, new films do get made. I mean, Sean Baker's Anora won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. The Brutalist, which is a 3.5 hour original story shot on VistaVision, exhibited in 70 millimeter, won the top prize at the Golden Globes. So I mean, there are interesting projects getting made
yeah, for
at
sure.
very high levels, but they're becoming fewer and farther between.
Yeah, I definitely see that happening. Yeah, I mean, still, it's very cool to see those like very unique and insanely thought through movies still being made. But I think it's pretty obvious that they just happen less often.
Mhm.
Yeah, and excuse me for my black and white camera. My main camera crashed for some reason. Now I only have an infrared camera available.
It looks cool.
Dude, I can wait. It's actually pretty cool, but it's if I had this running, it would be too intense because it's like flickering like crazy. It's scanning my
Uh,
face.
it's a rave now. I like that.
I don't know if I should not leave this on because it's probably gonna get exhausting after a while. So you have to stick. Everyone has to stick with this still frame of me looking like a demon for now.
I think it's good. I think it's a good look for you.
Nice, thank you. Maybe like to kind of like try to like see on the other side. Like, do you see any opportunities opening up right now? Like anything that's developing that's new, kind of like new opportunities?
New opportunities for what exactly?
I guess for the creative field in general, like if there's like an artist or a creative person, like is there anything new happening that they could try out or where they could try to interact with?
I mean, I think the short answer is yes. I mean, again, I'm not on TikTok, and when I see TikToks, they it's when they trickle down to Instagram, and
Yeah.
so they're already like a few weeks old by the time I see them. But I have seen some interesting work come out of there. Just experimentation with form and with um, just pieces that feel just like almost like 15-30 second vibe pieces
Yeah.
that have been interesting. I mean, I think you know, tying it all back into something we were talking about earlier, there is opportunity for experimentation, but by the same token, I feel like again because we experience time linearly, the basic tenets of time art kind of remain the same regardless of the form. You're still dealing with Philip K. Dick, the writer, has this essay, um, mostly about Disneyland, but about other things as well, called "How to Build a Universe That Doesn't Collapse on Itself." And that's like the challenge of like any
Mm.
art. You have to make you're making something that ultimately isn't real, but you got to trick people into thinking it is real.
Yeah.
And depending on what you're interested in, like to use myself as an example, like how do you tell? I'm really interested in story, and what is story? What is drama? Drama comes from character. What is a character? What is the character is a corporeal form. Inside that, there are wants and desires. How does this person you know uh, want what they want? Why do they want it? How do they go about trying to get the thing that they want? How does that fail them? Because we're all such imperfect creatures. Um, that could be a short film, that could be a music video, that could be a feature film, that could be a miniseries, that could be a TikTok. It's the with everything changes, everything stays the same.
Mm. Yeah. So basically, you're saying, yeah, things are changing, and it's worth to yeah give the new things a chance, right? Like you said, like trying out short form content, for example, that reflect your ideas and your vibe.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think I think there still is a place. The film is a medium that's like very much obsessed with itself and obsessed with its own mortality, and there is a lot of anxiety around the future of theatrical distribution. But I think that like that's something that isn't going to go away, and it will be preserved. It may be a more niche or rarefied practice, but part of what makes the theatrical experience so special is you go into this auditorium, this room with strangers, and the lights go down and the big screen lights up, and for the duration of whatever you're watching, your life fades away, and the only thing that matters is the story on screen, and hopefully you know you are transported, and you experience the lives and the dramas of people that aren't you, and you walk out of the theater with a hopefully evolved perspective on the human condition. That's
Yeah, I think that's if a movie captures that, or like if a movie achieves that to like change or like inspire you to like look at humankind and yourself in a different way, I think that's one of the biggest goals or like one of the biggest achievements a movie can do, I think.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's no greater ambition. I mean, like Roger Ebert, the late film critic, called the movies the empathy machine, and I think that's a really nice way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Again, one of the the double edge of the sword of this this digital revolution is we get so inundated just like watching things on our phones or at home alone, and you become siloed and you think of yourself as like the absolute center of the universe because everything is algorithmically being driven into you.
Yeah, and it starts very quickly to feel like a bubble, like everything repeats itself, and you feel like, oh, this is the truth because it's being shown to me over and over
Exactly.
again. So yeah, it's
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would like to start asking people to write down questions for you in the chat. Like I think anything
Okay.
towards kind of like storytelling, characters, artistic endeavors, it's probably interesting for you to answer, right?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to answer anything. I'll answer it to the best of my ability.
Just anything. Oh, what's your favorite coffee?
I just like it's shitty black diner coffee. Where
Awesome.
you can just sit there and just get like cup after cup after cup. I'm not picky. I like.
Nice. That's good. That's good to know. I'm happy we settled that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if anyone with a student membership or like any students here, they can also join the Discord channel and just talk to us directly. Yeah, that would be a more interactive way to do it. Otherwise, I would say we wait a few minutes and I've heard someone joining.
Oh shit.
Who is there? Does the person who joined want to ask a question?
Hello.
Hi, Zach. Oh, it's you. What's up?
Hey Zach.
Hello, Calvin, and hello, Mike.
What's up?
Thank you. Not much. Just been enjoying the interview so far. Thank you for all of your guys' insight and conversation. I do have a question. Just kind of watching your show reel, I think one of the things that kind of stood out to me, and this is kind of a similar question that I actually asked in a previous interview, was your song choice, and kind of how a lot of your pieces were visually, I guess, complemented by the some of the sound choices that you made. And I was wondering, kind of how how you're inspired when it comes to kind of completing work. Like, does it start with the song or sounds or something that you want to kind of build around, or is it visuals that you want to build around a lot of the time?
Well, so that one in particular is funny because that was someone took a Chipmunks record and slowed it down. And I think it was my wife who actually said, "Oh, you should use that for your reel." So that's where that. I mean, like as far as like the question was, where do things come from? Was that it?
Yeah.
Inspiration,
I
right?
mean, where does inspiration come from for you, I guess?
I mean, it comes from. I wish I had a more streamlined answer for this. I mean, I feel like my personal creative process is pretty obsessive and compulsive and disordered. I guess like things will just float around sometimes for years. I'll hear like something piece of music, or I'll just hear like a line of dialogue, and or like there'll be a character or a location or a scene or just a vibe. They'll just float around, and then like did you ever play that video game back in the day, Katamari Damacy?
Oh yeah, that game is awesome.
Yeah, again, so like where things just kind of you kind of like just rolling this ball, and it just like kind of clumps together all this. There'll be cats and thumbtacks and buildings and cars and shit.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like so. The year I did Mechanica, I also did. I was lucky enough to direct 2 narrative shorts that year. The second one was a short called Barbara Allen, and there was a gag in that film. I don't want to spoil anything, but that I've been thinking about since I was like 18 or 19 years old. That had just been living in the back of my mind, and um, I don't know. Things get trapped out there.
Yeah, so you would say kind of like you take things into your mind and you absorb everything, and then when it comes for you to like put things into a concept, you kind of just like wait for things to come to you.
Yeah, you kind of. I don't know. I think you just have to be open to things and ideas, and I think the worst thing you can do is try to force something.
Mm.
You have to, you know, it's like I'm not a musician. I don't have a musical bone in my body, but like I feel like when you're listening to music and when you're listening to noise, and I feel like the you can kind of apply that principle to like anything you're making. If you're writing something at a certain point, I feel like the natural it just naturally takes itself over. Like let's say you, for example, you're doing something like you're writing a heist movie because you've never written a heist movie, and by golly, you really want to do this car chase scene, but as you're writing your project, your main character is developing, and it turns out he's not very bright, and he doesn't have much foresight. So on the day of the big heist, uh, he's forgotten to put gas in his car, and he's the getaway driver, and so fuck, he has to go to the gas station and put gas in his car, and then it just so happens he locks his wallet in the car when he goes to get the gas, and he ends up missing the heist, and that becomes the driving drama, and you never get to do your big car chase scene.
Mm.
Um,
I think what
I just
you're describing feels kind of like, yeah, going with the flow, right? But I think for that you need to kind of like appreciate all the inputs you get from the outside world, right? Like you gotta stay open and you gotta like look at things in detail and like really look at them and really think about them so they stick in your mind somewhere, right?
and it's kind of contradictory because you have to be open, but you also have to be decisive, right? Because like all of making comes down to decision making
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
I think on that I also wanted to say something. You said earlier about sort of like forcing creativity is not good. For
Yeah.
me, like I found a way that works for me that feels a bit forceful, but it's really fun to me. Where it's like I forced myself to work in limitations, kind of like write, for example, like write a short film for a location and for a actor that I have, right? Because I know if I write this, I know I can also do it because I have access to these things, and
Hmm.
that becomes pretty fun to me because these limitations then kind of like inspire me to think in different ways, and then of course you can
Hmm.
still put other things in that come naturally. But I personally enjoy that process. Have you ever worked in that direction?
Oh yeah. So I used to do this thing. They have them all over, called the 48-hour film project, and
Yeah.
they give you over the course of a weekend, they give you like they'll assign you um, a genre, and every team gets a different genre, but every team also has to use like the same things. Like you got to use a singular prop, you have to use a line of dialogue, and you have to use a character with a particular name. And I can remember one year my buddy and I were doing it, and we got assigned documentary. And in Los Angeles, you get a lot of people who take we were doing it for fun, but there's a lot of people that like take it very very seriously.
Mm.
And so we did when we were assigned documentary, we did this fake documentary about a couple of guys who win the 48-hour film project and all of their Hollywood dreams come true.
Nice.
Um, and we of course played the two guys, and we actually ended up winning best writing
Nice.
that year. Yeah, so that was cool. We shot that all on, we shot that on Canon ZR-45 MC that I had since I was a teenager. So it looked like it was shot on a potato or something. It looked terrible, but I liked how it looked. I thought it looked good.
It's got personality.
Yeah, it's got edge.
Nice.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to ask the
does that
same
answer
thing. Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Zach?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think I think everybody's answer is really different for this, so I appreciate your insight into it.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks for asking, Zach.
Absolutely. Adios.
Adios. I'll see you later. All right, we got some other question here in the chat. Wrench asked, what do you think about Wes Anderson films? Because you do almost look like him.
Oh my god.
Uh,
You know, I like some of them. You know, I like I think my favorite one is probably The Life Aquatic. Some of them I really don't like. I think that they tend to. Oh my god, Jesus Christ, dude!
He looks a little bit like you.
Don't show me that shit, man.
Got similarities.
The simulation doesn't need to be so fucking lazy all the time. I like The Life Aquatic, and you know, my wife is a big fan of his, and I don't like all of his films, but she showed me the hotel one, the Grand Budapest Hotel, and I actually I quite liked that one. And I really liked the color palette of his last one.
Oh, you mean the asteroid
way
city?
The way that it kind of it felt like it was shot on like old Eastman color film stock. I really like that. The way that those oranges and turquoises really popped out there. It felt like you're watching like what was it, John Sturges' Bad Day at Black Rock or something.
Yeah, I mean, visually he's very unique. I don't know any filmmaker who can replicate that style. So it's very cool.
I mean, like there's this. Some of the films, I don't know. I really disliked that summer camp one. I really didn't like that. I think I have issues with the one set in India, Darjeeling Limited.
I haven't seen those.
Yeah, I think you can skip them. We don't have to keep talking about Wes Anderson.
I just want to say, I personally, my favorite movie of his is Fantastic Mr. Fox, because I think just like pacing wise and like theme wise, that one is most interesting to me. And what I also realized from like a video essay I saw about movies of his was that like I saw that like they said that, and I was like, oh yeah, right, that's so cool. It's like that the kids often, or like almost always, feel more like adults than the adults, and I think that's a very interesting shift of perspectives that he tends to do.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, there's no shortage of films with that kind of usage. I mean, you go through, you know, the works of Francois Truffaut. 400 Blows comes to mind, or what's it called? A lot of Bresson's movies do that. Robert Bresson. The Apu trilogy by Satyajit Ray. Going all the way back to you know Jean Vigo's Zero for Conduct. Yeah, I mean there is a style of filmmaking that leans on child actors to be more adult and more plugged into the nature of the universe. It's hard to do it well. I think there's a lot of issues. It's tough to find really good child actors.
Yeah, that's true. I think I just find that perspective interesting because to me, children have kind of like a more unfiltered vision of reality, right? Because like the kind of like the social structures and all that, where they have to like kind of like change their view of nature to like more to fit more into like society. I think that changes how adults kind of like feel like they see a wrong version of nature and reality. So I kind of I like that that when movies work with that topic. Yeah.
There's a really good movie. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, if you want to recommend one movie, please do it.
I was going to recommend it's a short film by the actor Clu Gulager. I think it might be the only thing he ever directed. You know, he was in The Killers with Lee Marvin. It was also Ronald Reagan's last movie. But he did this short film called A Day with the Boys, and it's these boys in the woods, and they're playing, and they're getting into all sorts of mischief and adventures, and then like they see like this like adult businessman. They like rope him into their game, and he's playing with them, and then they just turn around, they fucking kill him. And then they and then they bury him in the woods, and it's implied that like they've done this a bunch of times, and that's the end of the fucking movie.
So fucked up.
It's really fucked up. Also, I would also recommend another great movie with kids. Is one of my absolute favorites is Night of the Hunter, directed by Charles Lawton, with Robert Mitchum as one of the all-time great villains. This murderous preacher with the words "love" and "hate" tattooed on his knuckles. It's very, very good.
I did find the short film Day with the Boys. I'm putting it here in the chat so people can check it out. All right. Cool. We can move on to another question. We have one more here.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So Keanu asked, throughout all your work, what core idea, feeling, or concept do you strive to keep intact? Oh, interesting.
You know, I think it goes back to those things that we were talking about earlier. The thing that Philip K. Dick said about building a universe that doesn't collapse on itself, and the thing about that Fassbender said about you having a unified aesthetic. You know, you want things to feel cohesive and to make sense. You know, I've in the body of work that I've built. You know, I've made a lot of different shit. I've done rap videos and pop videos and short films and animations, and you know, you whatever the project is, I want whatever's happening on screen to feel like it's supposed to be happening in that moment.
If I could like contribute my kind of like perspective of your work, how like I perceive it, I feel like a lot of the topics are like what's at the core of a lot of the stories, and even like music videos and stuff you do is kind of like how people handle and deal with their inner demons. That always kind of like comes out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, people have, you know, this is a stupid observation, but it's true. People have pain, you know. Everyone has pain in them, and like, you know, even really bad, evil, unredemptive people are operating from a place of pain and fear. I was thinking of that movie. I love a lot of Sam Peckinpah's movies. I mean, the Wild Bunch is for sure his best film. And there's the scene when you know the amoral the Wild Bunch, these thieves and killers are in this this kind of idyllic village south of the border, and they've escaped, you know, the laws of the United States, and it's observed. Everyone, going back to something you were talking about children. All of us dream of being children again. Even the worst of us, and then it's added, well, perhaps the worst of us most of all.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's
But then he went.
interesting.
Then he went and did "Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia," and that's one of the most nihilistic movies I've ever seen.
It's from the same director, from Sam Peckinpah?
Sam Peckinpah, yeah.
Okay. I've never seen his movies. I gotta check it out.
Those are my two favorites. I like The Wild Bunch and "Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia."
Hmm. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
I just rewatched those a few months ago. I was in a really bad mood, and I was like, "Yeah, I just want to watch a bunch of guys get killed." I put those on.
Perfect movie for that mood.
Yeah.
I would ask again if anyone has a question. Otherwise, Mike, there's one more segment of these interviews that I like to do at the end,
Okay.
which is kind of like a imagination exploration meditation experience. Sound very convoluted, but it's basically about me asking you to imagine something and you just like telling me what you see, right? Kind of like talking me through what your inner eye, your imagination sees.
Okay.
All right, cool. You're
I'll
done
try.
for that?
Yeah. Do I have to keep my eyes closed, or can I keep them open?
It usually helps, of course, to have them closed, but
Okay.
you can, if you don't want to, you don't have to.
I'll do it. I'll close my eyes.
Nice. All right, then here we go. So, to begin with this, just try to really come to yourself, right? Don't occupy your space with anything that's interview related or about being on a live stream or anything like that. Just try to be in a free headspace.
Okay.
All right, and with that, I just want you to imagine something simple first, just an apple, and explain to me what you see.
Well, I see the skin a bit red and green, slightly backlit on the upper left side, a slight indentation, a bruise. I see, almost like in one of those science videos, a time lapse.
Mm-hmm.
You start to see the bruising spread, mold, blanketing the apple in the snow of forgetfulness, as T.S. Eliot would say. The apple starts to lose its form. It starts to melt. It ceases to be an apple. It falls down to the surface below, black lacquer.
Is all of this happening for you kind of like, it sounds a little bit like in real time, like you are experiencing seeing these things one after the other. Is that true?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. When you were telling me about those like details on the apple, was it kind of like you exploring the apple, or was it all there in an instant?
Well, I didn't experience it in 3 dimensions. I experienced it as a flat image
Mm-hmm.
that I was looking through, almost like through a viewfinder or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's interesting. Would you be able for me to... The apple is kind of like dust on the floor right now for you, right?
Yes.
Okay, can you turn that dust back into an apple?
Yes.
How did that happen?
like like rewinding.
Rewind. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And can you now like pick up that apple, hold it in your hand, and kind of like twist it, rotate it around however you like?
Yes.
Does it feel like you are kind of there as a first person, like you are yourself there, or is it again like looking through a lens?
Well, if I'm looking at the out, I feel I have to hold it in my hand, and then I become present in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I see it as if I'm holding this thing in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Could you turn that apple somehow into an airplane?
Yes, I can do that.
How did you do it?
You know, I did it kind of like you're modeling something in Cinema 4D. I took points and I extended them, and I distended certain points.
See, interesting. Could you imagine for me like a scene, almost like a movie scene with that airplane? Can you like play
With
that
the
back
app,
for
with
me?
the Apple airplane.
Yes, the Apple airplane. Yes. Is it an actual Apple airplane? Like, how do you imagine it?
I mean, I imagine it like again, it's like clay. Like you're feeling it. The airplane still has the red and green skin and sheen of an apple, but now it's
Ah, so that it's the shape of an airplane, but as Apple material.
you could take a bite out of it if you wanted to.
Okay, that makes it even more interesting to me. Like, yeah, I would like for you to imagine kind of like a movie scene with that Apple airplane, with sound and maybe even characters, whatever comes to your mind.
Apple airplane. This is the first thing that came to mind, but it's dawn. The the sun is rising up, and we see in this Elysian field there's a tree, and it's full. Off of the branches. It's so luscious. It's full of apple airplanes, and then you see a naked woman approaching it, and we're in the Garden of Eden. But now all the fruit is airplane shaped.
Yeah, nice.
And Eve takes the apple airplane and takes a bite, and then offers it to Adam, and he takes a bite, and this is the fall of man. And there's a serpent that also looks like an airplane, but he's snake skin, and he starts laughing, and that's
Amazing.
lightning starts flashing, and that's the end of the scene.
Amazing. I love that vision. When you mentioned that, when you told me about the sound, were you kind of like, are you able to hear the sound? Like when you imagine sound, is it something you actually feel like you hear it, or is it more like the concept?
Well, I think when you're imagining a scene, I think sound is very important. I think you need to have, just the way that you can visualize something. You have to be able to understand like how, you know, the role that sound plays is how much wind is too much wind. Do you hear birds in the background or insects? Is there
Hmm.
a dog barking in the distance or a garbage truck or something? Whatever it is, the sound is just as important as the visual.
Hmm. But I'm mostly interested in how your perception of imagined sound is. Like, does it sound like you're actually there? Kind of like maybe if you give me like a percentage, like from 0 to 100, how real does an imagined sound to you?
I'd say, how real does an imagined sound sound? I mean, I don't mistake the imagined sound for real. I would say 60,
Hmm.
60, somewhere in the 60 to 80%, depending on how hard I'm trying.
I see. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess we could ask something similar for kind of like when you imagine things, kind of like how clear they look like, right? Like if you can explain that a little bit to me, maybe again in percentage and then going a little bit deeper.
Let's say visually like 83%.
Very, very concrete number.
Yeah. 80. I'd say 83%.
Okay, interesting.
79 to 83%, I think, in that range.
All right, yeah, cool. That's kind of like the basics of this experiment I wanted to do with you, because it's also, I had you for an hour now, and I don't want to take you out too much longer. But yeah, I would like to listen, like hear what you thought about that. Like, if from this experiment, did you ever do anything like that, or did you learn something new from this?
I mean, so I'm not a practitioner of it, but I am trained in transcendental meditation, and I do think that there is value in letting your mind kind of wander like that. As far as like how guided it was, I've never done anything like that specifically.
Was it?
Did I do? Did I do okay? What grade would you give me?
I would give you. Damn, how to even grade this? feel bad for grading this. No, dude, I don't want to grade this. I don't want to grade your imagination. Come on.
Gosh.
But the thing is, it's very different to every person. Oh, Wrench says you get an A+. Okay, I'll agree with that.
Hey, that's great.
But yeah, the thing with this experiment and in general, what I realized was that everybody really has like a very different way of imagining things, right? Imagining their senses in their own head. And it can really be extremely difficult. Like I had a friend who only could visualize things in kind of like mathematical grid terms, kind of like not photorealistic at all. Just everything is like very flat or cubic. And I have friends who can't visually imagine at all. So it can be very, very different. And also another guest I had here on the interview, it was interesting. Like he was only really able to imagine things once there was sound introduced, right? Like once I asked him to imagine music, then suddenly like his whole imagination went wild. So yeah, it's very, very different.
Takes all kinds.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, cool, man. I wish you would see me in real time. I wish I wasn't this frozen demon. But
we're all frozen demons, Calvin. It's all right.
Thank you. Now I feel better. Yeah, I want to thank you for joining this, and thank you everyone for watching. I'll be you got to check this out, Mike. Stay for a moment because I'm gonna do my goodbye ritual, and I built something new for that. So let me enable my flickering camera again, just for a little bit. All right. Okay. Bye, Mike, and I'll switch to this, and it's so flickery. Goddamn. All right, bye everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, no, not tomorrow. It's the weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Bye. Goodbye. Okay, with this like a white camera, it looked a bit different than I wanted it, but it's still fun.
I thought it looked cool.
Thank you very much, man. Alright, yeah, thank you so much, dude.
Cool. No problem, man. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, that was very nice. Yeah, I really